music makers! Did you hear all those amazing tunes? Did you recognize any? Those were different songs written by very incredible composers. You're already so familiar with composing. As a composer yourself, you've made your own melodies, your own rhythms, even your own body percussion piece. Today, we'll investigate 3 important composers whose original music helped shape music as we know it today. I think I know who we should start with. This is Ludwig van Beethoven. He was born in Germany in 1770, which was more than 250 years ago. That's before we even had cars or telephones. Let's take a closer look. Beethoven's father taught him to play piano at a young age. As Beethoven grew up, he composed so much music that became super famous. Have you ever heard this song before? How about this one? Those are both by Beethoven. One special thing about Beethoven was that even though he began to lose his hearing as he got older, he didn't stop writing music. In fact, he wrote some of his most amazing pieces after he became almost completely deaf. Imagine creating beautiful songs without being able to hear them. Pretty amazing, right? Beethoven helped music become more expressive. He made his songs feel like little adventures, taking listeners on a journey with twists and turns. That's why you can hear and feel so many different emotions in his music. Before Beethoven, most music followed very strict rules, kind of like building with blocks, where every piece has to fit just right. But Beethoven had new ideas. He wanted music to sound like emotions. Happy, sad, excited, or even angry. And he wasn't afraid to try things nobody had done before. He's one of the most famous and respected composers of all time, and he changed music in a really big way. Let's fast forward a bit. In 1819, a woman composer by the name of Clara Wieck was born in Germany. Her father was a piano teacher, and he noticed that Clara had a special gift for music. She practiced the piano every day and began performing for audiences when she was only 11 years old. She was one of the first pianists to perform the music entirely from memory, which influenced performers who came after her to do the same. Back in Clara's time, many people thought that for women, music could only be a hobby and not a full-time job. But Clara proved them wrong by becoming one of the most famous pianists in Europe. But Clara wasn't just a performer. She was also a composer. She wrote beautiful pieces for the piano, including concertos, songs, and duets, like this one. When Clara got older, she married another famous composer named Robert Schumann and took his last name to become Clara Schumann. It's a fact that Clara had a huge influence on her husband Robert's music. She helped him create his compositions, and she made his songs and the songs of many other composers even more famous by performing them on her tours. that brings us to our last composer. Take a listen. Do you recognize this music? I've heard that song before. I think it's the same song I hear when the ice cream truck comes down the street. And ice cream is great, but I think the man who wrote the ice cream truck song, which is called The Entertainer, is even greater. His name was Scott Joplin. Scott was born around 1868 to a very musical family in Texas. As a child, Scott learned to play the piano and started writing songs. He traveled around the country, playing music at parties, theaters, and restaurants. He became a famous musician and composer known as the King of Ragtime. Ragtime is a style of music that has playful, lively rhythms. When ragtime came around, it was much different from the classical music people were used to hearing. One of Scott's most famous songs is The Maple Leaf Rag. It was a big hit and made ragtime music super popular. Today, Joplin's music is still celebrated. His lively rhythms not only made people happy, but also helped shape the sound of jazz and blues, two musical styles that grew out of African American culture. Joplin's work continues to remind us how important African American artists have been in creating the music we love today. Scott Joplin, Beethoven, and Clara Schumann each helped shape music in ways that still inspire us today, and I hope they've inspired you. Thanks to these composers, music has grown and changed over time, becoming something that brings people together all over the world. Who knows? Maybe one day you will help change the world through music too. To hear more from these clever composers, be sure to check out your lesson materials. Until next time, music makers!
Hey, hey.